Welcome to Stoic Flame channel.
Have you ever dreamed of turning toxic attacks into opportunities for inner strength? The world can often feel like a battlefield, not always fought with swords and shields, but with words and emotions. In this modern arena, one of the most formidable adversaries we face is the toxic person. Their negativity can feel like a relentless drain, leaving us feeling frustrated, disempowered, and our mental well-being in tatters. But what if there was an ancient wisdom, a profound philosophy that could equip us to navigate these challenging dynamics with compassion, grace, and even resilience? This wisdom comes from the Stoics, an ancient school of philosophy that believed true strength lies not in conquering external forces, but in mastering our own emotions. Their teachings, surprisingly relevant today, offer a robust toolkit to protect your inner peace and emotional well-being from the corrosive effects of toxic interactions. By understanding and applying these Stoic-inspired strategies, you can transform from a passive recipient of negativity into a resilient guardian of your inner tranquility. So, let's take a deep breath and embark on this journey to equip ourselves with practical Stoic wisdom to handle toxic people effectively. 1. Identifying and understanding the toxic threat. A watchful guardian. Imagine for a moment that you are a diligent guard, stationed at the grand entrance to your very own personal citadel. This isn't a fortress of stone, but a metaphorical stronghold representing your inner tranquility, your physical health, and your emotional safety. Just as a vigilant guard must discern potential dangers, awareness is your first and most crucial line of defense in protecting this invaluable fortress. The ability to recognize the subtle and overt indicators that a poisonous individual is approaching is paramount. Often, the true source of our distress isn't the external actions of others, but our internal interpretation and judgment of those actions. Epictetus, a Stoic philosopher renowned for his emphasis on reason and self-control, reminds us profoundly, it is not what happens to you that upsets you. More importantly, it is your judgment of what happens. This profound insight is especially critical when confronting toxic individuals. Their negative attitudes and manipulative acts do not inherently possess the power to control you. Rather, it is your emotional reaction and how you perceive these actions that ultimately determine their effect on your inner peace. The key to success lies in cultivating a Stoic gaze, a calm, objective, and detached method of viewing the situation. This involves learning to recognize the specific characteristics of poisonous conduct. The sources highlight several critical warning signs. Constant criticism. A toxic person may incessantly find fault with you, your actions, or your choices. This criticism can manifest subtly or overtly, but its consistent effect is to leave you feeling deflated and uncertain about your abilities. They chip away at your confidence, often without offering constructive alternatives. Deceptive strategies to achieve their goals and exert control over your behavior. Toxic individuals frequently resort to cunning and dishonest tactics. These might include flattery designed to manipulate, guilt trips that burden you with unwarranted responsibility, or even veiled threats that create an atmosphere of anxiety and compliance. Their aim is not genuine connection but control. Thriving on negativity. Some toxic people appear to literally thrive on negativity. They are perpetually complaining, constantly pulling others down with their pessimism, and seem instinctively drawn to focusing on the worst aspects of any problem. Their presence can feel like a dark cloud, draining the energy from any room they enter. Beyond these general indicators, the sources identify several distinct types of toxic personalities you should be aware of, allowing you to develop a mental map of potential dangers for your inner citadel. The narcissist. This individual is characterized by an insatiable hunger for approval and adoration. While they might initially appear charming and captivating, interactions with them inevitably become one-sided, leaving you feeling emotionally exhausted and unseen. Their world revolves around themselves, and others are merely instruments to fulfill their need for validation. The gossip. This individual lives on social turmoil. They are notorious for propagating rumors, deliberately stirring up trouble, and deriving pleasure from creating friction and conflict between other people. Their words are often venomous, and their delight comes from the chaos they sow. The energy vampire, as the name vividly suggests, this person has an uncanny ability to drain your vitality. Interactions with an energy vampire leave you feeling cognitively and emotionally exhausted and fatigued. They might not be overtly hostile, but their incessant complaints, self-pity, or constant need for reassurance can leave you utterly depleted. By gaining an awareness of these various toxic personalities and the behaviors they display, you begin to construct a crucial mental map of the potential threats to your inner citadel. Much like a Roman Stoic philosopher such as Seneca might meticulously devise a plan to combat an adversary on the battlefield, you can utilize your newfound awareness to anticipate the strategies employed by potentially harmful individuals and proactively devise a strategy to safeguard your emotional well-being. This initial step of identification is not about judgment, but about informed self-preservation, allowing you to approach interactions with eyes wide open and a calmly prepared mind. 2. Fortify your walls. The power of unyielding boundaries. Once you've identified potential threats, the next critical step is to fortify your defenses. Imagine yourself in the powerful shoes of Marcus Aurelius, the renowned Stoic emperor of Rome. To rule a vast empire, he needed power, knowledge, and unyielding determination. These same attributes are vital when it comes to strengthening the walls of your own inner citadel, which is your emotional well-being. The boundaries you establish are undoubtedly the very foundation of this citadel. When dealing with toxic people, boundaries are the clear lines you draw in the sand, demarcating your personal territory. They explicitly define the kinds of conduct you will and will not approve of or tolerate. Just as a powerful monarch would never permit his kingdom's borders to be violated, you should not permit poisonous people to intrude on your emotional territory. This is where the core Stoic philosophy of reason and self-control comes powerfully into play. The initial step in establishing these crucial boundaries is self-reflection and clear-eyed determination. You must first identify which activities or behaviors consistently deplete your energy or violate your sense of self. Is it the persistent pessimism shared by a certain friend? The manipulative behavior of a coworker? The intrusive and unsolicited counsel of a family member? Be brutally honest and clear with yourself about what you will no longer bear. Once these boundaries are internally clear, the next vital step is to communicate them clearly and concisely. This requires tapping into your inner Marcus Aurelius, be firm yet fair. Effective communication is key, and the sources provide excellent strategies for this. Focus on your feelings using I statements, instead of making accusatory statements that put the other person on the defensive, such as "you are always so negative." Frame your boundary using I statements. For example, you could say, "I feel drained when you constantly focus on the unpleasant things." This approach conveys your experience without assigning blame, making it harder for the toxic person to deflect or argue. Be as specific as possible. Vagueness leaves room for misunderstanding and exploitation. Don't leave any chance for ambiguity. Instead of a general statement like, "I need some space," be precise. "I can't talk right now, but I'd be happy to chat later this week." This specificity makes your boundary concrete and actionable. Maintain kindness while being firm. There's a crucial distinction between being assertive and being aggressive. Your goal is to convey your point with self-assurance, while consciously avoiding animosity. Your strength comes from conviction, not confrontation. Establishing boundaries is not a one-time declaration, it's an ongoing commitment. You need to be hard and consistent in enforcing your boundaries, much like a Stoic ruler constantly on guard against barbarian invasions. An unstable wall is simple to dismantle. If a toxic individual disregards your limits, you must calmly remind them of the line that has been established. In some instances, it may even become necessary to restrict your interaction with the person or completely withdraw from the situation. Remember, the purpose of establishing limits is not to punish someone else, but solely to protect yourself. The Stoics vigorously avoided envy, a vice that often fuels poisonous talk, through the establishment of clear boundaries. By setting these boundaries, you are not engaging in selfish behavior. Rather, you are safeguarding your emotional well-being and establishing the necessary space for you to cultivate inner peace within the context of your Stoic path toward a life of tranquility. A strong citadel, characterized by clearly defined and well-defended boundaries, is an essential component of this journey. 3. Become uninteresting to the emotional barbarian. The Grey Rock Method. Now, visualize a ferocious emotional barbarian. This individual is driven by pessimism and relentlessly seeks a dramatic conflict. Many toxic people operate precisely in this manner. They thrive on attention, especially your emotional response, and their negativity feeds on eliciting a reaction, a glimmer of fury, a flicker of hurt to fuel their fire. They constantly poke and poke with insults, aiming to provoke you into their arena. In this context, the Grey Rock Method emerges as a powerful instrument. Inspired by the Stoic ideals of emotional regulation and indifference to external stimuli, this technique was developed by therapist Paul Fredman. It's a strategy that involves being emotionally less receptive. This isn't about completely shutting down. Rather, it's about providing the emotional equivalent of a smooth, gray rock and neutral, and yielding surface that offers no handholds for negativity to cling to. To dissect this approach further, let us draw upon the sage advice of Seneca, a great Roman Stoic philosopher. Seneca reminds us that true happiness resides in enjoying the present without anxious dependence upon the future. In the context of the Grey Rock Method, this translates to starving the toxic person of their primary fuel, attention. Toxic people most of the time seek attention, whether positive or negative. With the Grey Rock Method, you are preventing them from experiencing the emotional response they are looking for. In the midst of the storm they are attempting to generate, you become uninteresting, just like a dull rock. Your armor in this strategy consists of neutral responses. The Grey Rock Method entails reacting to negative statements with deliberately neutral and factual statements. It is crucial to refrain from becoming involved in emotional disputes or justifications. If a toxic friend insults your work, for example, you can deflect their assault by simply saying, "That's interesting," without providing any further fuel for their negativity. Toxic people frequently attempt to control your emotions. They might resort to sarcasm, guilt trips, or even plain hostility in their behavior. In such situations, the most important thing is to disengage from their emotional vortex. Maintain your composure and respond in a factual manner, refusing to become involved in their drama. It is important to keep in mind that Seneca teaches that the path to genuine happiness is to not amuse ourselves with either hopes or fears. You should not give them the emotional power they are seeking. The Grey Rock Method is a potent instrument, but it is not a miracle cure. It's possible that some toxic personalities will initially escalate their conduct, putting your emotional rock to the test. In such moments, keep your cool, be consistent, and always remember that you are not to blame for the negativity they are displaying. By applying this Stoicism-influenced method, you can transform yourself from a passive victim of their emotional theatrics into an unmoved spectator, thereby defending your inner calm and emotional well-being. 4. The broken record technique. Uncheckable reason and perseverance. Imagine being subjected to a never-ending onslaught of manipulation. A toxic individual chips away at your boundaries through deceptive arguments and emotional ploys, and being subjected to such a persistent assault can be both emotionally tiring and unpleasant. But don't be afraid. The Stoic principles of uncheckable reason and perseverance serve as the inspiration for the broken record technique, which emerges as a potent defense. The broken record technique is a strategy developed specifically to combat deceptive tactics. It entails patiently repeating a clear declaration about your position, similar to how a broken record skips on the same uncheckable message. This seemingly straightforward method has the potential to be remarkably powerful in repelling attempts to derail you and maintaining a firm focus on your requirements. To explore this technique deeper, let us draw upon the wisdom of Epictetus, a cornerstone of Stoic philosophy. Epictetus tells us that freedom is the only good. This freedom encompasses not only the ability to determine your own boundaries but also the liberty to say no without providing an explanation. This essential principle is perfectly exemplified by the broken record technique. By reiterating your viewpoint in a calm and relentless manner, you are able to display your steadfast resolution and prevent the manipulator from pulling you off course. Manipulators frequently deploy emotional strategies for the purpose of gaining the upper hand. They might try to manipulate you by using flattery, guilt trips, or even outright fury in an effort to get you to do what they want. The broken record technique enables you to avoid these emotional assaults. By concentrating solely on the factual statement of your position, you are able to deflect their attempts to manipulate your emotions and keep the argument based in reason. The consistent repetition of your position can be very disconcerting to a manipulator. This is because repetition is considered a form of defense. It disrupts the flow of their conversation, throws them off balance, and brings to light the hollowness of their arguments. Imagine a powerful wave crashing repeatedly on an immovable rock. The rock does not move at all, while the wave ultimately disappears. Contrary to popular belief, the broken record technique does not involve confrontation. It's about maintaining a firm focus on your stance while enforcing your boundaries in a calm manner. Keep in mind that Stoicism places a strong emphasis on reason and logic as the guiding principles for managing the problems that life presents. Through the utilization of this method, you empower yourself to resist exploitation and safeguard your inner peace with unyielding determination. You become the unmoving rock, while their manipulative waves dissipate harmlessly against your unwavering resolve. 5. Don't take the bait. The shield of Stoic indifference. Picture a skilled angler, casting a line baited with negative thoughts, hoping to catch you in a whirlpool of emotional drama. They dangle provocations, insults, or guilt trips, hoping to elicit a reaction that will fuel their drama and feed their negativity. This is a common strategy employed by many toxic people. However, Stoic philosophy provides a powerful defense: indifference. It's crucial to understand that this is not the same thing as apathy. The Stoics, particularly philosophers such as Epictetus, made a clear distinction. Apathy, in their opinion, was a state characterized by a lack of concern and listlessness. Indifference, on the other hand, refers to a deliberate disconnection from the unpleasant feelings and judgments that distort our reason. This distinction is incredibly important when dealing with toxic people. Here's an explanation of how Stoic indifference can assist you in avoiding going for the drama bait. Be aware of the strategy. The first stage is to become acutely aware of the toxic person's manipulative strategy. Familiarize yourself with the telltale signals that they are attempting to lure you in. Is it a sarcastic remark designed to provoke? A veiled insult meant to undermine? Or a guilt trip camouflaged as a helpful suggestion? The moment you identify their strategy, you have, to a significant extent, already rendered it ineffective. You see the hook, and you choose not to bite. Detached from the emotional hook, the bait is always intended to elicit a specific emotional response from you: wrath, annoyance, or defensiveness. Stoic indifference, however, is a conscious choice that allows you to avoid becoming emotionally tied to the negative aspects of the situation. Consider the scenario in which you are able to observe the bait hanging in the water without taking it. You examine it with cool composure, entirely unaffected by the power it possesses to ensnare you. You simply observe, without reacting. Let the drama dissolve. When you consistently refuse to respond to their negative comments, the power they have over you is diminished due to a shortage of fuel. The drama they are attempting to build is unable to last in the absence of your emotional response. Their scathing remarks or insidious provocations remain suspended in the air, eventually losing their power and simply dissolving. There's no audience for their performance, and so the show cannot go on. It is not necessary to transform into a heartless and uncaring machine. The practice of Stoicism promotes the expression of good emotions, but it places a strong emphasis on detaching from negative emotions that you are unable to control and channeling your feelings toward things that you can control. By practicing Stoic indifference, you can turn yourself from a passive player in their drama into a peaceful observer. This demonstrates that you are not willing to become involved in their emotional web. Your own inner serenity continues to exist, a refuge that is unaffected by the storms that others attempt to generate. It's a powerful act of reclaiming your emotional autonomy. 6. The art of the non-reaction. Silence as a strategic weapon. Imagine someone who is a verbal gladiator, a master of insults and barbed comments, thriving on the heated back and forth of an argument. Some poisonous individuals call this domain their home. They use words as weapons, intending to incite anger, humiliate you, and ultimately lure you into their emotional sphere. Presented here is a Stoic strategy that is not only effective but also frequently underappreciated: the art of the non-reaction. When deployed in a planned and deliberate manner, silence has the potential to be an incredibly effective weapon against a lethal verbal assault. By causing a disruption in the dynamic that they want, it effectively disarms them. Astonishing quiet, however, is not something that comes effortlessly to everyone. The natural desire to answer, to defend ourselves, or to win the argument is something that we are frequently conditioned to feel. Stoicism, on the other hand, teaches us the significance of mastering our reactions, emphasizing that a stillness maintained at the appropriate moment indicates true control. To have a clearer understanding of the strength of the non-reaction, let us consider the writings of Marcus Aurelius, the well-known Roman Stoic emperor. Toxic people frequently rely on a predictable pattern. Their tone is pessimistic, and they anticipate a response from you. When you show anger, annoyance, or defensiveness toward them, you are adding fuel to their fire and maintaining the toxic dance. Having no reaction causes this pattern to be disrupted. You are denying them the emotional response that they are looking for by choosing silence. Just for a moment, picture a tennis player swinging their racket toward a court that is completely empty. Their tremendous serve falls with a thud, and everything that follows is complete silence. There is no return, no rally, no game. In this perspective, silence is not empty. It is a profound form of communication that conveys meaning without words. It demonstrates that you have a high level of self-control, and that you are unwilling to partake in their negative behavior. The message that it sends is one of strength and non-attachment to the emotional manipulation they are engaging in. It's a statement: I will not play this game, It is important to remember that Marcus Aurelius advised us to waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. Become one. The attributes of a good Stoic are exemplified by your quiet presence. You are calm, reasonable, and unmoved by the provocations that come from the outside world. Prepare yourself for the potential escalation when using the known reaction. In the beginning, a toxic person may increase their efforts by hurling further verbal insults in an effort to elicit a response from the other person. Despite this, keep your composure and remain unmoved in your quiet. It is important to keep in mind that quiet is not a sign of weakness. Rather, it is a powerful instrument that is utilized by those who are truly strong. The known reaction is not a solution that can be applied in every situation, but it is an important weapon in your Stoic armory. It has the potential to disarm poisonous people, defend your inner peace, and demonstrate that you have power over your own emotions when it is utilized strategically. When you choose quiet, you are making a powerful message in and of itself, because you are choosing not to play their game. 7. Limit your exposure, controlling what you can control. Imagine yourself inside your walled citadel, where your mental health is being painstakingly preserved by strict boundaries. Even the most sturdy walls, however, are not able to totally protect you from dangers that come from the outside. Contaminated individuals, just like persistent intruders, may nevertheless make an effort to penetrate your safeguards. The Stoic idea of controlling what you can control comes powerfully into play at this point in the discussion. While you are unable to control the actions of toxic people, you are absolutely able to manage the amount of time you spend with them. One of the first lines of defense in this method is to reduce the amount of time you spend interacting with people who are toxic when it is possible. Establish physical distance, if possible. Can you completely avoid them? You might be able to reschedule a lunch engagement or respectfully remove yourself from a discussion that is turning negative. Keep in mind that this is not about being impolite. Rather, it is about protecting oneself. In the same way that a Stoic leader would not send his forces into a conflict that was not essential, you should not subject yourself to negativity that is simply not necessary. Nevertheless, it is not always feasible to avoid something completely. On occasion, toxic people may be coworkers, members of your family, or even close friends and acquaintances. In these kinds of circumstances, establishing emotional distance becomes absolutely necessary. This can be accomplished by the following strategies. Practice mental detachment. Epictetus, a notable Stoic philosopher, tells us that happiness and freedom begin with a clear understanding of one another. This quote by Epictetus highlights the importance of mental detachment. This does not imply emotional uninvolvement. Rather, you are able to comprehend the pessimism of another individual without allowing it to color your own attitude. Exercise mental detachment by observing their conduct in an impartial manner, without allowing yourself to become emotionally invested in it. You become the calm observer, not the entangled participant. Utilize cognitive reframing. Toxic individuals will frequently attempt to control your feelings by using negativity. Cognitive reframing, a method greatly influenced by Stoic concepts, can be of great assistance in this situation. Transform their pessimism into an objective observation by reframing it. For instance, if a coworker is continually complaining, you may reframe the situation by thinking, they appear to be having a difficult day, rather than allowing their negativity to bring you down. This shifts the focus from their impact on you to their own internal state. Focus on the positive. Toxic people thrive on negativity, so it is important to actively focus on the positive aspects of your life. Try not to give them the ability to take away your happiness. Make a concerted effort to concentrate on the positive aspects of your life, such as personal interests you enjoy, the significant work you do, and the supporting friends you have. Allow yourself to be emotionally protected by these beneficial factors, creating a safe haven from the negative energy they bring. There is no such thing as cowardice when it comes to limiting your exposure, both physically and emotionally. Protecting your inner peace and practicing self-care are both vital. Stoics have a strong belief in the importance of leading a moral life and acting rationally. When you reduce the amount of time you spend interacting with negative people and situations, you make room for yourself to nurture a good and flourishing inner life. Imagine that your fortress is encircled by a large moat which, in addition to being a physical barrier, also serves as an emotional barrier, protecting your peace from the advancing negativity of poisonous people. 8. Build your support system, the Stoic Phalanx. For a moment, picture yourself as a guard at the entrance to your inner castle. Your walls have been strengthened with boundaries, you have perfected the art of non-reaction, and you have reduced the number of toxic people you are present with. However, in order to fully defend their position, even the most courageous warrior requires a powerful phalanx, a formation of trustworthy allies. Your support system is your Stoic Phalanx, an essential component in ensuring that you maintain your inner serenity when you are engaged in the fight against negativity. The Stoics, especially notably philosophers such as Seneca, placed a strong emphasis on the significance of living a life that is in harmony with nature. These guiding principles are exemplified by a network of virtuous individuals who are supportive of you, who inspire you, and who share your fundamental beliefs. In difficult times, you may turn to them for support and guidance. They are the people who will listen to you, offer wise counsel, and provide unwavering encouragement. Here's how a robust support system can serve as a buffer against the negative influence of toxic individuals, a safe space for sharing. Dealing with toxic people can be emotionally draining. Your support system provides a secure environment in which to analyze your experiences and express your frustrations. When you have trusted friends or family members to whom you can confide, their comprehension and compassion can serve as a vital support system, serving as a reminder that you are not fighting this struggle alone. Sharing the burden lightens it. Source of encouragement: toxic people frequently diminish your sense of self-worth. An effective support system serves as a powerful counterforce, providing you with encouragement and reminding you of your abilities and the value you bring to the world. Their faith in you has the power to strengthen your determination and rekindle the fire that burns inside you, particularly in situations where negativity threatens to extinguish it. Setting an example of virtue and positivity, the Stoics held the belief that it is important to surround oneself with persons who exemplify the characteristics that one wishes to cultivate. A network of virtuous individuals who are supportive of one another can serve as a potent positive role model. It is possible to learn and develop by observing their strength, resilience, and optimistic outlook. This will help you increase your own capacity to gracefully manage negative situations. The process of constructing a solid network of support is one that never ends. To accomplish this, you will need to cultivate existing relationships and actively look for people who match your beliefs. Here are some ways to cultivate this beautiful phalanx. Invest in quality time. Set aside dedicated time to have meaningful interactions with the people who are responsible for your support. You can build a stronger sense of connection by sharing your experiences, listening to theirs, and sharing your own vulnerabilities and triumphs. Seek like-minded communities. Joining clubs, volunteer organizations, or online communities that are congruent with your interests and values is a great way to bring together people who share your values and interests. These places are often filled with individuals who share your values and who can serve as a natural source of support and encouragement. Show gratitude. It is important to remember that the power of showing gratitude to those who are supporting you can never be underestimated. Please express your sincere gratitude to them for the great influence they have on your well-being, as well as for their presence in your life and their unflinching support. Acknowledging their contribution reinforces the bond. Through the cultivation of a robust Stoic phalanx, you may establish a formidable shield that protects you from the negativity that is caused by poisonous people. Strength, perspective, and a revitalized sense of optimism are all things that you acquire when you are surrounded by positive influences. Always keep in mind that even the most well-guarded fortress might benefit from a robust defense from the outside. Your support system, which consists of your trusty companions, transforms into your unyielding phalanx, guaranteeing that your inner serenity continues to possess a secure and protected sanctuary. 9. Prioritize self-care. Replenishing your emotional reserves. Making contact with toxic individuals is analogous to being confronted with an unrelenting assault in combat. The emotional energy that you have is depleted, and you may end up feeling utterly exhausted as a result. When it comes to protecting yourself against negativity, self-care becomes an essential, non-negotiable component. Much as a Stoic warrior would make it a priority to tend to their wounds and sharpen their blade after a battle, your Stoic style of living should include self-care as a fundamental component. Integrate self-care into your daily routine and think of it as a crucial investment in your mental well-being. Make it a priority alongside other vital chores and proactively schedule it into your day. Your emotional reserves can be replenished, and your resistance to negativity can be strengthened through the following approaches of self-care. Participate in activities that bring you joy. Identify the activities that bring you genuine delight and can help you relax and recharge. These could include physical exercises like running or yoga, artistic activities such as painting or writing, or even simply reading a good book. When you participate in these activities and immerse yourself in them, you are able to distress, recharge your emotional batteries, and return to the world with newfound energy and perspective. Engage in awareness practices. Meditation. The Stoics engaged in awareness practices that were analogous to modern meditation. Through the practice of meditation, you are able to calm your mind, disengage from negative thoughts, and create inner peace. When you make meditation a regular part of your self-care regimen, you give yourself a great tool to manage stress and negativity, whether it comes from yourself or from other people who are poisonous to you. It's a mental cleansing process. Seek solace in nature. The Stoics placed a strong emphasis on living in agreement with the natural world. The act of spending time in natural settings, whether it be a gentle walk in a park, a challenging hike through the woods, or simply sitting by a lake, has a significant positive influence on our overall health and happiness. If you want to alleviate stress, enhance your mood, and gain a sense of perspective that can help you fight the negativity you experience from toxic people, then you should try to immerse yourself in the natural world. You might think of self-care as practicing preventative maintenance for your emotional well-being. A person who is well-rested and centered is in a far better position to deal with negative emotions. In the same way that a Stoic warrior would make sure their armor was sturdy and their sword was sharp, you may nurture your emotional resilience by engaging in self-care techniques. Listen carefully to the signals your body sends you. Continuous communication is taking place between you and your body. Observe the symptoms of exhaustion, tension, or emotional depletion, and pay attention to them. To make self-care a priority, you shouldn't wait until you are utterly exhausted before doing so. Incorporate healthy eating, make sure you get enough sleep, and take short breaks throughout the day. The basis for your emotional resilience is laid by these routines, which may appear to be straightforward but are incredibly powerful. In the same way that you establish boundaries with people who are poisonous to you, you should also establish boundaries around the time you spend on self-care. carefully denying requests that might interfere with your time to relax or setting aside certain times throughout the day to engage in activities that promote self-care are examples of ways to accomplish this. Always keep in mind that putting your own well-being first is not an act of selfishness. Rather, it is necessary for preserving your emotional resilience. You can become a more powerful and well-balanced individual by implementing self-care into your Stoic way of life. Much like a Stoic warrior would be prepared to meet any adversary, you approach obstacles with a better perspective and enhanced emotional fortitude. It is important to keep in mind that having a full emotional battery enables you to more effectively deflect negativity and radiate positivity, thereby establishing a formidable shield against the toxic people in your circle of existence. 10. Remember, it's not about you. The Stoic observer. Picture yourself standing beneath a dark cloud, constantly looming overhead, spewing out negativity and obscuring your view of the outside world. When you're working with toxic people, you will frequently encounter situations like this. They create a poisonous environment by projecting their own worries, insecurities, and issues onto those around them, which results in others being affected negatively. The concept of Procopia, which is rooted deeply in Stoic philosophy, serves as a formidable defense mechanism in this context. We are encouraged to view ourselves as intelligent observers who are standing outside of the emotional tornado. Through the use of the phrase Procopia, which is utilized by Stoic philosophers, we become impartial analyzers of the issue, separating ourselves from the negative aspects of the scenario and concentrating on the rational aspects. When interacting with toxic people, it is essential to maintain this level of detachment because the insults and negativity they express are rarely directed at you as an individual. Rather, they are reflections of the individual's own inner issues. You can navigate the toxicity of toxic people by utilizing Stoic detachment in the following ways. Discern the projection. Toxic people frequently resort to blaming others, criticizing others, and being generally negative in order to divert attention away from their own inadequacies. By applying the Procopia vocabulary, you are able to discern this projection for what it truly is. You distance yourself from the emotional undercurrent, allowing you to observe their conduct in an impartial manner, much like a scientist would while investigating a phenomenon. Understand their internal landscape. When you have the ability to detach yourself from the situation for a moment, you are able to comprehend that their negativity is a product of their own internal landscape and not a reflection of you or your worth. Their behavior is not a reflection of your character. Rather, it is a symptom of themselves and the problems they are experiencing. Take for example the dark cloud. Although it may throw a shadow, it has nothing to do with the ground that it momentarily obscures from view. The sky above still has the sun blazing brightly. Their darkness is theirs, not yours. Focus on your Stoic path. Epictetus, a major Stoic philosopher, tells us that it is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste a lot of it. This highlights the need of focusing on your Stoic path. He continues, "The length of our lives is sufficient, and a considerable quantity has been bestowed upon us for the most important reasons, provided that we are able to make the most of it correctly. If you want to avoid wasting your valuable time and energy, you should avoid getting involved with the negative energy of toxic people. Maintain your emotional distance, make it a priority to look after your own health, and keep moving forward on the Stoic path that will lead you to a life filled with virtue and calm." It is not the same thing as apathy to be detached. While it is possible to show compassion for their troubles, it is not necessary for you to become a victim of the emotional storms that they are experiencing. You can protect your inner calm and emotional well-being by practicing Stoic detachment, which requires you to change yourself from a passive target into a centered observer. It is important to keep in mind that the sun is still shining brilliantly above the mountains of clouds. Your inner light is unaffected by their passing gloom. 11. Don't try to fix them. Cultivating your own garden, the desire to mend, to heal, and to engage in the role of a therapist can be powerful, particularly when you are confronted with a person you care about who engages in behaviors that are harmful to others. On the other hand, in the sphere of Stoicism, this road frequently results in frustration and a depletion of one's own emotional reserves. When it comes to cultivating transformation, toxic individuals, like plants that are suffocated by weeds, require their own willpower and work. This transition cannot be compelled by any means. Here's why: focus on what you can control. Stoicism places a greater emphasis on concentrating on what you are able to control, which is primarily your own reactions and interactions, rather than making an effort to change a toxic person. Their actions are outside your sphere of control. The onus of accountability. The onus of accountability for the actions of a toxic person is entirely on the individual himself or herself. It is necessary for them to make the deliberate decision to address their negative emotions and look for a way to achieve virtue. Trying to take on this responsibility for them will only result in an unhealthy dynamic and will hinder them from taking responsibility for the problems they are experiencing. You can't do their work for them. Acceptance of what is beyond control. One of the fundamental principles of Stoicism is the acceptance of things that are beyond one's ability to control. This includes things like the actions of other people, the circumstances of the outer world, and the ever-changing conditions of existence. The negativity that is exhibited by a poisonous person is a perfect example of this category. Because you have come to terms with this fact, you have liberated yourself from the fruitless effort to alter them. Imagine that your inner tranquility is a blooming garden. This is the focus of your Stoic garden. The toxic people in your life, with their negative attitude, are like weeds that threaten to suffocate the growth that you have painstakingly cultivated. You are wasting your precious time and effort by attempting to uproot them in the garden of another person. Instead, put your attention on things that are important to you, such as establishing positive connections, tending to your virtues, and engaging in self-care practices within your own garden. The Stoic philosophy, on the other hand, places a high importance on assisting others in achieving virtue. If you feel compelled, there are ways to encourage a toxic person to engage in self-reflection, but it is important to keep in mind that you have limitations. Instead of trying to dictate the path that they should take to change, you should offer materials that could potentially stimulate their own introspection, rather than trying to solve their problem yourself. A book on good communication, a recommendation for a therapist, or even just a kind suggestion to evaluate the consequences of their actions could be included in this, depending on the circumstances. Ultimately, you can have the most significant influence on others by demonstrating Stoic principles in your own life. This is the most effective way to lead by example. You have the ability to act as a vibrant beacon, a monument to the transformational power of Stoic ideas through your calm attitude, measured responses, and unwavering emphasis on virtue. Sometimes, despite your best attempts, a toxic person will continue to be entrenched in their negativity. It is important to know when to get away from them in circumstances like these. Stoicism recommends establishing boundaries and, if necessary, withdrawing from the situation in order to safeguard one's own well-being. Keep in mind that you are unable to influence their journey, but you have the ability to pick your own path. Through the process of internalizing these ideas, you will convert yourself from a frustrated fixer into a Stoic facilitator. You are able to provide assistance without jeopardizing your own health, and you are able to develop a garden that may flourish in spite of the weeds that may be growing in other areas. 12. When to walk away, protecting your sacred sanctuary. Imagine yourself seeking safety amid the tranquility of your Stoic castle of refuge. You have developed your emotional detachment, you have planted a healthy inner garden, and you have also strengthened your walls by establishing limits. Nevertheless, in spite of your best efforts, the negativity that comes from a toxic individual continues to remain, posing a threat to your defenses. The ability to recognize when it is appropriate to withdraw from a situation is a fundamental Stoic precept. Making the decision to leave a toxic relationship, particularly one that involves close family members or coworkers, can be an extremely difficult choice to make. However, prioritizing your mental health is of the utmost importance. Stoics have a strong belief in the importance of leading a moral life and acting rationally. In direct opposition to these ideals is the practice of maintaining a relationship that undermines your sense of inner calm. This is why the Stoic philosophy is consistent with the practice of removing oneself from a harmful situation. Keeping your Stoic sanctuary safe, your inner serenity is your sacred sanctuary, a place of refuge that you develop through self-care, mindfulness, and Stoic practices. Someone that is poisonous, with their unrelenting negativity, is comparable to a persistent siege that is being laid on your fortress. It is possible to safeguard your emotional well-being and secure your sanctuary by removing yourself from the situation. You are choosing to lift the siege. Focus on what really matters. Live immediately. Seneca, a great Stoic philosopher, reminds us that life is a precious commodity by saying, "The whole future lies in uncertainty. Live immediately. Live immediately." Continuing to be in a relationship that isn't healthy is a profound waste of this valuable time and energy. You give yourself the opportunity to invest in positive connections, meaningful pursuits, and experiences that nourish your spirit and contribute to a flourishing existence when you move away from whatever is holding you back. Acceptance as strength, not weakness. Accepting that which is out of our control is a key component of Stoicism, and other people's behaviors are a fantastic example of this. Moreover, Stoicism promotes detachment during this period. A decision to walk away from something does not indicate weakness or defeat. Rather, it indicates acceptance of a circumstance that you are unable to change and a deliberate choice to detach from negative emotions. You are not giving up on the individual. Rather, you are giving up on the poisonous dynamic that is detrimental to your body and mind. Moving on from a situation is not a choice that should be made flippantly. Take into consideration the following factors. Have you tried every other possible course of action? Have you experimented with communication strategies, establishing limits, or providing resources for them to seek help? Is there a recurring pattern of negativity, or is it a specific instance that might be an anomaly? Do you genuinely feel that the connection has a significant, negative impact on your well-being? It's not necessary for there to be a dramatic scene as you walk away. The gradual withdrawal of contact, politely declining invitations, or simply limiting communication are all techniques that have the potential to be beneficial. Keep in mind that removing yourself from a situation is a Stoic act of protecting your inner calm and a type of self-care. You can live a life that is led by reason, virtue, and peace if you make your well-being a priority. This will allow you to create room for positive relationships and experiences to develop and flourish. 13. Forgive yourself. Releasing the emotional baggage. Consider the following scenario. You are about to embark on a lengthy journey, and you are carrying a hefty bag that is full of hatred and fury toward a poisonous individual. The weight of this responsibility slows you down, preventing you from making progress and draining your energy. Within the Stoic framework, forgiveness is defined as the process of releasing one's emotional baggage, not for the sake of the other person, but for one's own sake. The Stoics placed a strong emphasis on the significance of accepting things that are beyond our ability to control, with the actions of other people serving as a notable example. The act of harboring hate and resentment toward a person who creates a toxic environment falls clearly inside this category. Remaining steadfast in these unfavorable feelings will only cause you harm, contaminating your present and casting doubt on your future. Stoic principles equip you with the ability to forgive yourself and free yourself from the load of negativity in the following ways. Concentrate on your inner landscape. The Stoics held the belief that the actual source of power is the ability to govern one's own ideas and actions, rather than the acts of others or the events that occur in the outside world. In order to recover control of your inner landscape and make room for serenity and emotional well-being, you must first forgive yourself, and then let go of any animosity you may continue to harbor. Forgiveness is acceptance, not condonement. Forgiveness, in the Stoic understanding, does not involve condoning the behavior of the poisonous person. Rather, it is about accepting the behavior of the toxic person, acknowledging what has occurred, coming to terms with the fact that it is beyond your control, and making the decision to move forward with a lighter heart. The famous Stoic Emperor Marcus Aurelius tells us that you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. Your ability to forgive gives you the power to reclaim this mental control. Breaking the cycle of negativity, resentment is a prison that one has created for oneself. If you continue to hold on to it, you are allowing the toxic person to continue to have a detrimental impact on your life even though they are no longer physically present. A break in this cycle can be achieved by forgiving yourself, which will release you from the emotional shackles of the past. The process of forgiving oneself does not take place overnight. In order to foster forgiveness, here are some ways to do so. Recognize your feelings. The first thing you need to do is recognize the feelings of anger, hurt, or resentment that you are experiencing. When these feelings are repressed, it only serves to slow down the healing process. Allow yourself to feel them, without judgment. Practice self-compassion. This entails treating oneself with the same empathy and consideration that you would provide to a cherished friend experiencing a similar situation. Not only are you a victim of their negativity, but you are also impacted by their behavior. Acknowledge your own pain. Evaluate objectively. Make an effort to evaluate the event in an objective manner by shifting your perspective. Was the toxic individual acting maliciously, or were there other things at play that contributed to the situation, perhaps their own suffering or ignorance? Transforming your point of view can help cultivate empathy and understanding, which in turn can pave the road for forgiveness. Forgiveness is a profound gift that you offer to yourself. You may make room for emotional healing, personal progress, and a life that is more rewarding by letting go of the burden of negativity. Imagine that you are going on your journey, your backpack lighter and your heart lighter, and that you are prepared to accept the adventures that are still to come with a renewed sense of strength and tranquility. You have the ability to convert yourself from a passive victim of toxic people into a resilient warrior of your inner peace by applying these 13 methods that are inspired by Stoic philosophical thought. Always keep in mind that a life that is devoid of negativity is a life that is truly worth fighting for. If this video speaks to you, don't forget to subscribe now and click the playlist on your screen to unlock the treasure trove of stories, strategies, and Stoic wisdom. Let's level up together. Fuel your ambition, fortify your mind, and join me next time as we rise above all limits.